Hello, hello, friends. You are listening to the We Rise Together podcast. This is a weekly podcast where 5 women have come together to help you and encourage you to living the best life you could possibly live. We base all of our life on certain areas, and that's what this podcast is about. We hold each other up. We encourage ourselves and others in all the areas of life that need to be loved and taken care of. Areas like your finances and your faith, your family and your friends. We don't leave out fun, and we definitely don't leave out what we do for a living. So I hope you will join us every single week right here on this podcast. If you want to see us live, you can find us on YouTube. If you want to get to know us better and be a part of our community, please go over to Facebook. You can find the link in the description of this video. We have a Facebook group called We Rise Together, and we would love to have you join us in that group. So join us every single week right here, and don't forget, life is better when we rise together. Hey, friends. Welcome back. I'm so excited. Welcome to the We Rise Together podcast. Greta, Joanne, Kari, and myself. I am Kori. We are so glad to see you guys. I missed you guys. I seriously feel like I know we took it to once a month for a while through the summer because everybody's so busy in the summertime that it gets crazy. But I have literally missed you guys, and I am so excited about what we're talking about today. I cannot hardly contain myself about this topic. So we are talking about nutrition and how one thing may work for me, but not work for Greta, or one thing may work for Greta, but not Joanne. We are all different. We are all individual, and our nutrition and our health needs are also individual. And so I truly believe in my heart that health has more to do with, it's not only diet and nutrition, I guess. So we're going to talk about that as well today. It's everything. It's the whole picture, right? It's mind health, it's gut health, it's physical health, it's emotional health. It's all of it. It's food, it's exercise. So when you can get a balance and you can figure out what works for you, the health game is actually quite easy once you figure out what's right for you. And sometimes I've found, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I found for me that it was kind of like the way that I'm looking at it now is it was kind of like a game. I'm going to try this for a little while and see if this works, because I fell off I went on a track. Let's backtrack a little bit. I went on this track of counting micros and macros for a really long time, and it did great for me. But I was also walking 5 miles a day, right? I was also journaling. I was also working on my spiritual health. I was also working on my emotional health. I was taking my supplements. I was doing all the right things, right? I was taking time for myself every morning. And then life got in the way, and I kind of fell off that wagon. And it kind of compiles. Well, I tried doing the micro macro thing again, and it didn't work the way that it did the last time. But my body has changed since then also. And our nutritional needs change over time. And I really think that it's important that we point out that just because something worked for you when you were 30 does not mean that it's going to work for you when you're 40. We have these little hormones that like to go crazy when we turn freaking 40. Mine did. And I think that it's important that we kind of talk about it. Just talk about it.
Oh yeah, it's important to talk about, because I think a lot of us think that, oh, this used to work for me. I used to do this, and my body was like this. And I know I do it to myself too. I was actually recently just looking at things that were popping up on Facebook and old pictures from when my kids were little, and I was like, I used to complain back then, but I'll give anything to go back and look like that. And I would think about like, what did I do? What kind of things was I doing? And it's not something that will work right now because our bodies do change. And yes, unfortunately, there comes a time where things need to change. I mean, change is good as much as we look at it from a negative aspect. It is good. It's just we have to also adjust how, how we're approaching nutrition and hormonal health and just everything, fitness. I was talking to my trainer today because I have to be honest with you guys. Haven't been to the gym in probably 2 weeks. And I've kind of fell into the slump of low energy. I do have a thyroid condition. So usually with seasonal changes, my thyroid changes a little bit. So I need an adjustment. And I kind of fell into the slump. And she messaged me and she's like, "You're coming to the gym tomorrow, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh gosh. But even that, I have to actually do a really hardcore workout to get my body back into having my thyroid function properly, right? And there is a way to get that back in order, but it takes a lot more of effort for me to get there where, you know, I mean, I've had a thyroid condition for 22 years. My son is 22, so 22 years exactly. But back then it would take, just a slight adjustment and, a brisk walk once a day, and that was fine. Now my body's slowing down in a sense that I actually have to kick my own butt to get things going again. And it's hard because we can fall into those slumps, right? And nutrition's the same. Sometimes, I mean, I used to eat really healthy, and I still do, but the things that I used to eat are not going to work for me, now that they worked for my daughter who's in her 20s, right? So it's kind of a whole ballpark that you have to look at.
Well, yeah, and I think too that sometimes what's wrong with you can change. So obviously what you're going to use to help that will change, right? You might end up having leaky gut or, some kind of irritable bowel that you didn't have 5 years ago when you lost 20 pounds and you did it this way. So, or when you became healthy. We're always changing. So, and I think the other thing too that we have to mention with this is our stored emotions, and we're always going through things as human beings. We're always going through things. So sometimes if we don't deal with that maybe the way we should, and you know what, it can be something that you dealt with or it happened to you when you were like 6 and you never really dealt with it, and now it's kind of reared its ugly head. So there's lots of that goes with this as well, right? Those stored emotions and how they can affect us and how they can change how things affect us, if that makes sense, essentially, right? So
I've had to eat a lot of my words the last 5 or 6 years. I joined and then became a leader in an international weight loss company when I was in my late 30s. In 9 months, I lost 43 pounds, and it come off slowish but steady, right? Every week I was losing. And there were ladies in their 50s and 60s that were coming in, and they'd go down and up. I just saw this yo-yo. It was down 2, up 2, down 2, up 1, down 1, up 3, back and forth. And I'm like, well, it comes off fairly easy. Like, why are they having such a hard time? Right? Move forward 20 years. Now I get it because things change, our bodies change, all the things change, the energy level, the hormone level, the what we have going on in our lives, what Kari said about emotions. If if you are on that journey where you're starting to deal with your health issues and it's like an onion, you peel away a layer at a time, and sometimes the layers underneath are pretty sweet, but sometimes those layers can be pretty rotten smelling, and getting through those, and it all snowballs.
Right. And I mean, even the differences in us, like what Kori's going to maybe do for her health is probably or may not be what I'm going to do. When I got my health back in 2016, I really went to the fermented food, back to, kind of the way Jesus would have ate is kind of what I thought. It was very basic. Grass-fed beef, raw dairy when I could find it, honey. I didn't even vegetables. I did have vegetables at that time, but I also had a lot of fermented foods like sauerkraut and kefir, and that really worked for me. I'm finding now, trying to get my health back, I'm struggling a bit with that. I went carnivore last fall. I felt really good. I lost some weight, and then bam, it stopped. But I'm actually going to try what they call the Lion's diet, because I think I need to figure out what triggers my health issues, right? I don't know if that would work for everybody. It's basically you eat grass-fed lamb, grass-fed beef, salt and water. That's it. And then you do that for an amount of time, and then you implement one thing back into your diet at a time. Right. So
like an intense elimination diet almost, right? Or
yes, it very much like that, because there's something triggering the one health issue that I have, which is some kind of autoimmune thing. And I just really can't figure out what it is, because I've eliminated gluten. Joanne and I were gone this past weekend, and she can attest I never ate no gluten. So, but I come back and I've got a bad flare up, 2 days in a row. I have no energy.
Do you have, just out of curiosity, do you have any, like, not like blood sugar issues, but like any type of gut related?
Absolutely, Kori.
Okay, so I learned something the other day, just so you know, which I never in a million years would have thought this. Honestly, never would have thought it. Onions and garlic, everybody is like, onions and garlic, they do so many wonderful things, and they do. They 100% do. But onions and garlic, if you have gut related issues, can actually flare an autoimmune disorder for gut related issues or blood sugar issues. And I never would have ever pieced those two together, because the ferment, when you digest them, they do ferment.
Yes.
And they have they turn into a certain type of sugar in your blood. And I never would have ever assumed that garlic, I'm a garlic eating SOB.
But see, now that you mentioned that, Kori, like, I ate meat, and the one night I had a Greek salad, but it had the onions in it. And I'm going to assume, well, the ribs had garlic on them.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right. And that could be
it's a staple seasoning.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's why
everybody seasons with garlic. Every restaurant, everyone. Garlic and onion is a staple seasoning.
Say that.
So
yeah, and that could be, and you're right, who would ever think that garlic and onions, because they're known as health foods. Right.
And the doctor that I learned that from, he was like, nobody, but for Greta, that garlic and onion might do what she needs it to do. Right. So it's literally, that's what I was saying about trial and error. It's literally paying attention, almost like keeping a food diary and writing down what you eat, and then figuring out how you feel. Because for me, any flour, and I'm talking corn flour, any type of milled anything, literally upsets my body. And any type of dairy, I can't have it. I just can't. But I can have any vegetable. I can have garlic. I can have onions. I can have all of that stuff. My body loves it. Meat, my body does not love meat. It just doesn't. It makes me not feel good.
Right.
I almost
And
have to be
feel the
vegetarian.
best on meat, right? Like, so
Yeah.
tonight I took grass-fed beef soup bones and I boiled them, and that's what I had with sea salt on it. That's all I ate. And I don't
And
have any indigestion right now. But so I
if
am
you
doing
can
the Lions diet.
find,
And what's that, Kori?
if you can find instead of sea salt, this is going to be, I'm not a know-it-all. I swear to God, I'm not a know-it-all. I'm learning so much right now. Not sea salt, but Celtic salt. Are two
Yes.
different
Celtic
things.
salt, yes. Yeah.
Celtic
Celtic
salt
salt
is
is
the
what we should
highest.
be
Yes.
eating. Yeah.
Celtic
And
salt
I'm
is the
looking for
highest
it.
in your mineral content.
And you should have it in your water as well in the morning.
Every
'cause it
morning
does
I put a pinch
actually-
of sea salt in my water.
I was told, and I've been told, and it's funny because Isabella does too, that I've always been dehydrated. But when I think about my upbringing, we did not drink a lot of water. We never did, because you couldn't drink water back home just out of the tap. It had to be boiled, or it had to be like in a tea or something, right? Like, so we had liquids, but not like full on water. So I was never really raised to drink lots of water, but I was never really dehydrated. But I'm being told that I'm constantly dehydrated, and it doesn't matter if I can drink 5 gallons of water a day. My body still does not process that in a way that anybody else should, right?
Right.
And I was told it's because I'm missing a mineral. So my body is taking the water in and completely expelling it within seconds.
Yeah.
So
You're
Flushing
missing
it.
mineral contact to keep the water.
So the Celtic salt needs to be in there for me to absorb it.
Another thing that I know that I had taken when I went to a naturopath in the late 90s, she put me on what they call tissue salts, which is for that exact reason. Tissue salts are more like a homeopathic remedy that you'd find it at a health food store. So that's what it does, is then you actually retain it instead of, because when you pee, then you even pee out more minerals. An interesting thing too that I just learned I was reading one of the doctors, I think Dr. Dan, you guys must know who he is. Yeah. So he said that people with fibromyalgia, and I was diagnosed with that in 1997. He's never ever hardly ever seen a case of people who hadn't been diagnosed with fibromyalgia that did not have excessive amounts of copper in their body. Because what happens is they actually can't absorb zinc. So when the body lacks zinc, it tries to fix it by absorbing copper. So therefore, people with fibromyalgia end up, because we have lots of wonky, weird symptoms, we end up with too much copper in the body, which is what fibromyalgia is. It's too much copper. So when it can come from that mutated gene where you actually don't absorb things properly, which I have. So it's kind of, there's that too, which makes sense, because foods that are high in copper, I don't digest well, which is kale, lettuce, avocados. I like them, but they don't like me. Like, I literally, if I don't take a digestive enzyme or a hydrochloric capsule and when I eat Caesar salad, I will literally taste romaine lettuce for 2 days.
Wow.
So
Really?
So back to
That's interesting.
Back to feeling dehydrated. Something I've learned, if you drink reverse osmosis water, which a lot of people do because they feel it's cleaner and safer, it also has next to zero minerals in it. So my daughter actually was struggling because she says she was drinking, like, she has a massive water bottle, and she was drinking 5, 6, 7 of them a day. And she says, I'm struggling, I'm dehydrated. Even her naturopath told her she was dehydrated, but she never asked her what kind of water she was drinking. And
Where would you get reverse osmosis water?
Well, if you buy the 5-gallon jugs of water,
Oh yeah, no, that's bad stuff.
right? So there's no trace minerals and stuff in it. So
Unless you buy the spring.
unless you buy the spring water, and even then you have
But some brand names, Kori, like Dasani water, Aquafina, those are all reverse osmosis.
Yeah.
I
They're
can't drink.
all
I
bad.
cannot drink that stuff. It makes, like, you guys, your daughter's not lying, because it literally dries my lips
So
out. Like,
that's because you were drinking it and not absorbing it. For what Greta said, there wasn't the minerals in there.
Right.
Mm.
So what
It's like-
water do you drink, Kori?
we have a well.
A well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
See,
I take my water with me everywhere I go. I take it to work. I take it everywhere I go. I
Yeah,
fill
you've
water.
talked about that before,
You need
that's
to
right.
ship your water over to me.
I told my daughter to add some Himalayan salt because that's what she had to her water. Each water bottle, I said, you don't need much. You just need a little pinch.
Just a
And
pinch.
immediately she started feeling better.
Yeah.
My naturopath also has, it's not homeopathic, it's like a naturopathic remedy. Well, it's not even a remedy, it's like a supplement. It's a drop that you put in your water. You put 15 drops in a liter of water, and it's basically concentrated trace minerals, but you only have to do it in one, and then it puts it in your body, and then there's enough there for the rest of your day, no matter what kind of water you drink, right?
You're on mute, Kari.
I was unmuted. Sorry, ladies. Our max with our core with Q Sciences has the chelated minerals as well. But I sometimes I think you just need more than that. And I think, like we're saying, when you drink your water, if it doesn't have that, then it actually pulls it out. So that
It flushes your body. I find that the more water I drink, if I don't add anything to it and it's just straight water from my filtered system, it's almost like it goes through me. It flushes my whole system out, and it feels like I haven't taken anything that day, right? So again, going back to, in past podcasts, we were talking about taking supplements. All of this still kind of comes down to, you really have to know what goes on with your body, because sometimes you can take all the good stuff in the world. If you are not aware of what goes on in your body, then there are people that will take supplements that are like, they are not working. And it's not maybe because the supplements are working, it's because their bodies are not absorbing it. And there's so many factors that go into that, right? Every podcast we talk about, when we talk about these issues, more and more issues come up. And I think that's why it's vital to really talk about these things, because sometimes it's just those little things that you don't think about.
Well, they're all intertwined and braided and webbed and everything. One thing can affect another, which affects another, which affects another.
And we're all so different. Kori said that her body doesn't really like meat. I ate meat for supper with just sea salt on it, and I feel absolutely fantastic. It's probably the best I felt in days.
Yeah.
But I had this morning,
I love meat.
Free range eggs.
Like, don't get me wrong. I'm
a
freaking
your body.
Like, I love.
And I'm too, like, having that Greek salad Saturday night in that restaurant with the dry ribs. Because I try to eat healthy when you go. It's hard in restaurants, right? I thought, the Greek salad, because I love feta cheese, right? I love onions and black olives and cucumbers. I wasn't keen on the lettuce, but whatever. And I did ask for no tomatoes because they're nightshade and that can bother autoimmune. But it tasted good, but I don't think it did me any favors, that's for sure.
So, and it's interesting you mentioned nightshade, and you even asked me Saturday night how I can eat nightshades. Because I've been diagnosed with 2 different autoimmune issues. And through the treatment with my naturopath, she's actually helped my body learn how to take the goodness out of all the food I eat, and sort of get rid of the rest. That's simplistic, very simplistic.
I'm gonna bring this into it,
but
a healing.
I can eat nightshades now. I can't eat them 3 times a day, every day. I do have to be cautious, but I can eat them without having a reaction like I used to.
This is a frequency machine, and it will change the frequency of your foods and your water. I haven't tested it yet because I haven't had it very long. But
so do you just put it close to your food, or are you like, what do you do?
you just set it by your water or your food, and it changes the frequencies of it.
Oh, interesting.
I have to learn more. There's so much to it, right?
So it's probably works on the same as the crystals, right? There's frequency in the crystals. It's creating a frequency in the machine. It's all about frequency. I mean, we know that. We've talked about it before. Everything is about frequencies and energies.
Oh yeah, I put
the right one.
Have you guys heard of the not to squirrel out? This is my ADHD coming out. Have you heard of the electromagnetic gardening where you put the copper?
Electroculture. Yes,
I'm doing that.
I'm ordered a
doing
big
that
roll
too.
of copper from Amazon.
Yeah.
We're going to put them in our garden boxes.
We have some copper pipes that kind of are hanging around, and I'm like, oh.
I'm going to wrap them around my tower garden, around the hoops of my tower garden, and then put them in the sticks in my garden. I'm only a little scared of lightning storms, though. Only a little bit. Like, that's an attractant.
Well, copper is grounding. That's what
Is
grounds
it?
your home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
okay.
for your home. Every outlet has copper in it.
I know zero things about electrical.
So that third little, I don't know, different countries have different things, but I know you guys in the US have the same outlets. There's two prongs, and then the third one, that's your grounding outlet. That's your copper.
Oh, okay. Good talk. Good to know.
Well, I actually
like
have a grounding mat underneath my desk right now that's plugged into that third one.
Yeah. Mine's on my chair, my grounding mat.
So if you can't get outside to do some earthing, we totally squirreled away. But anyways, that's good for your body as well.
It's part of multidimensional health, though, you guys, because like we were just talking about when I left my job. Like, I mean, Greta nailed it. She's like, you almost looked like glazed over with where I was working. I had no energy. I was exhausted when I came home. My body physically started hurting. Like I got my shoulder hurt. My feet were hurting. You guys, I'm like, my shoulder hurts a little bit still, but it's like so much better. And the energy, like feeling better, like instantly. The day I walked out of that place, I felt like a different human being. Right. And it's all a part of your health and your nutrition. And that is like, if you remember the saying, be around people that bring out the best in me, not the stress in me. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to, when you're in the middle of that, it is hard to see it when you're in the middle of it. But if you literally just become aware of the things, the places, and the people that are in your life, and how you feel in their presence and after you leave them. If you're in a good mood and you walk into somebody's house and all of a sudden you're just like, and you leave and you're just like, oh God, I'm just exhausted now. Like, maybe that person should have less of your time because they physically vampired you. Like, they emotionally drained all of your energy out. And
it is about energy, Kori. It's all about energy. It's the same as there's been a scientific study now where they've I don't know how they've tested it, so don't quote me on this, but they've taken food that's been cooked lovingly in your kitchen by your mom or you, and how much better it is and how higher it vibrates than food that you would, I mean, even if it's good food and it comes from a restaurant, it's not prepared, you know,
with love.
Pizza. They're not.
I've actually seen a study where they've taken canned food, like, I mean, not canned food. I don't mean like if you can it yourself, like canned food that's been processed. So let's say,
right.
I'm not going to mention.
Like a can of corn.
Right? Like, whatever it is. I haven't had canned food in so long. I don't even know what's out there anymore. But anyways, they actually tasted or tested it against like a homemade soup, let's say. And they called it dead.
Yeah.
it was the
Probably
frequency
is
of
dead, no
death.
frequency.
Like
Well, when
it,
there's if you take lemons or oranges, I guess it's
Yes.
any citrus, and you put it in a house where there's love and there's happiness and there's sunshine, that lemon can stay on your counter and be edible for weeks. If
Oh,
it's
yeah.
in a place where there is hatred and
Just
all
bad
of the,
energy.
all those bad energies, the things that make it will go moldy.
Yeah.
I mean,
It'll get hard.
all,
It'll get
all you have to
hard.
yeah,
all you have to do too is Google it, or anywhere, and there's pictures. People are posting pictures of plants, the ones where they talk to their plants, and then there's actually, I've seen one that's three or four. They don't talk to a plant. They talk to a plant lovingly. They talk to a plant but say nasty things to it. So yeah, the three. And you can see the difference. The one that doesn't get any talk is actually does better than the one that has the negative.
Well, and there's
Well,
the
you know what?
Japanese doctor that does that with the water.
yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can't remember
And the
his
water splits and it gets angry. You know
right,
what?
and it's
I'm
beautiful when
mad
it's
at whoever
spoke with
did
love,
that plant. I'm mad at them. You don't treat plants like that.
right?
You know, right?
That hurts my feelings.
But
Okay.
again, circling back to everything that we talked about, it really is multi-dimensional, and
Absolutely. That's why they call it holistic health, because it is your health in a whole. It's not just organic
symptom,
food
yeah.
or
It's not just your brain, your head, or your hand, or your feet, or your stomach. It's all combined.
it's everything. It's your emotions. It's the energy you put around you. It's the food you eat. It's how it's prepared. It's so many things.
You know, there's
That's
something that
Go ahead.
someone said to me recently, and it's probably something that a lot of people think about when they hear us talk about those kinds of things. And it's like, oh, if I have to pay attention to everything, then that's going to be my whole life, and I just don't want to worry about it. But those are the people. Now, if I think about who has said those things to me, those are the people that have been sick for most of their lives, are constantly complaining of aches and pains, and just don't do anything about it, because almost that complaint is part of their being, right? Yeah. That's what makes them, they think. So there's a lot of issues, but it's something that comes up a lot when I chat with others, and say, like, really, you have to look at the whole being. And they're like, well, if I had to worry about everything, then what's the point of living? Well, that's the point of living.
Right?
You're going to pay for your health now, or you're going to pay for your sickness later.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that's just a fact. You're going to spend time right now being healthy. I throw this out there because I love her so much, and she's been such a great example to me. My mom's almost 70 years old, and she told me the other day, she said, she goes, I can't believe that I'm almost 70. I don't have hurts. I don't wake up with aches and pains. I can do whatever I want. My mind is clear. She's the president and CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. I mean, it's very impressive how well she looks, feels, acts. And it's because she has taken the time to take care of herself, and she has found what works for her body.
Yeah.
And I can't stress enough, you need to find what works for you. It is not going to be what works for your neighbor. Anybody that's selling you a diet exercise plan, like, here's a huge example. Greta does high intensity workouts that work for her. If I did a high intensity workout, my ligaments would snap in half. I have to do hot yoga. That's what works for me. Mm-hmm. High intensity does not work for me. Well, it will physically hurt my body. Mm-hmm. Something that I might have to have surgery on, like, seriously. Yeah. And for Greta, hot yoga might not work for her. I don't know, but I know that she does the high intensity And that works for her. It is so important to find what works for you in diet and exercise and self-care and emotional health and mental health. Because when you do that, you will start feeling that holistic, healthcare, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's a reason for that. Like my kids always, one of my favorite things, and it's so funny, and it brings back what you were talking about who makes your food. Have your kids ever said to you, but the sandwiches always taste better when you make it, Mom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The food always tastes better when you make it, Mom. And it's like, oh, you just want to make your sandwich.
Right? Or they'll stay at someone's house when they were younger and you'll come back and you'll say, oh, well, we had stew and bannock, but it wasn't like yours, Mom.
Exactly. And there's a reason
Right?
that Mom's food is always so much better. And it's because it is made with love.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, this was good, ladies.
Made me miss my mom. I'm thinking about her homemade bread now.
Aww.
But yeah, I mean, we just have to find what works for us. So that is why I'm going to try the Lion's diet. It's the elimination thing. Start very simple and put back things in. And I have pretty good, I can do the muscle testing, but I'm a pretty firm believer that I don't muscle test myself, and I don't always go with the answer unless I'm really good within myself, if that makes sense. If my energy's off, then I'm, you know what, I might pick up a bag of chips and my body might say, yeah, I want that, right? So
but that's not what you want. What you ask if this is, or you say this is good for me today, or this is good for me.
It's still,
there's a difference between want and,
oh, for sure, you shouldn't even use the word want, but that's not really what I meant, Joe.
I know what you meant.
You have to be really centered within yourself. Or sometimes, I know for a fact that sometimes those answers are not correct. That's why if you live close to somebody and have them muscle test you is much better, because you get way more accurate answers, right? But I don't happen to have anybody near me, so.
So one of the things that we didn't touch base on, and I'll just say it real quickly before we call it an end here, because of course, as usual, we could talk for hours about this topic. Something that, if this is new to you, just start listening to your body. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you have, so I guess we did touch on it a little bit, but learn to listen to your body. If you feel crappy when you've eaten something, think about what you ate. Think about how you felt when you ate it. What was going on in your mind? What was your emotional state when you ate that food? Because sometimes what I found with my natural path is that if you're in a certain emotion and you eat a food, you can become sensitive to it all of a sudden. It just, your body just snaps, and you need to work on that. So paying attention to yourself is key, and how it's talking to you.
So perfect. This was great, ladies. I guess we'll wrap it up, and just remember, audience, that we're going to just do the once a month. So I guess this one is going to air in the next Monday,
the 29th.
The 29th, and then probably the next one won't air until the end of June or the first part of July. So with that, we're going to let you go, and everybody enjoy your summer. I know, in Alberta, we don't have as long a summer for you either. I mean, California has a way longer summer than what you do. So enjoy your summer while you can. And remember, we rise together. Well, that's a wrap for this episode. We are so grateful you joined us as we discuss our experiences on our life's paths. Our vision, no matter where you are in your life path, is to add value to your life by sharing ours. You can find more incredible resources in our We Rise Together Facebook group. We'll leave the link posted in the show notes at the bottom. And until next time, we appreciate you, and remember, we rise together.